Hey everyone, welcome to your Tuesday edition of The Nerve. I am so happy to be back with all of you troublemakers because today's show is so fun. It is so fun, if I may say so myself, speaking for all of us here at Team Nerve. First, we are going to dismantle part 2 of the CNN hagiography about JFK Jr., which aired on Saturday night, as well as the self-regard of one would-be Kennedy gatekeeper, and that is Carole Radziwill, who loved to remind the women she considered deplorables on The Real Housewives of New York City that she was technically a princess from upstate New York. Okay. By the way, so we're going to do JFK Jr. and Carole at the top of the show. And this is so good that if you are listening, I'm going to implore you to wait for this part of the show until you can watch it on YouTube. You have got to see her expressions and her body language and the whole thing. Okay. Next, then we've got some celeb updates. We've got your emails, best part of any nerve. And what we all hope is our final farewell to And Just Like That and the insufferable Sarah Jessica Parker, who did all she could. She did all she could. She did all she could. Okay, you guys, let's go. When elites tell you what's right and who's wrong, it's rarely the truth. They shape the narrative, protect their own, and profit from the chaos, and people fall for it, not because it's true, but because it's easier than digging for facts. Ground News is a news comparison platform that doesn't publish stories or push opinions. It is a practical tool that shows every issue is being covered across the spectrum by giving their users the ability to see each source bias, who benefits from the narrative, and who is hoping you never see the full picture. They created a blind spot feed that highlights stories being ignored by the media. So we partnered with Ground News to get you 40% off the Vantage plan that we use. That's just $5 per month for unlimited access. Go to ground.news/Maureen or scan my QR code. If we're going to fight back, we need tools that show us the whole truth. Okay, now, before we get into episode 2 of America's Prince, whatever, I would like to show you CNN's packaging of this show. Their art direction of JFK Jr., the CNN 3-part doc, and then you see him, and superimposed over his face are the words, "The Golden Boy with a heavy crown." Now, I would also love to counter this because here at The Nerve, our mission statement is real talk about fake people. And so we would like to show you our amended version, which we believe reflects reality. And ours reads, JFK Jr. superimposed over his face, a dwarf mind with a death wish. Now, we begin with Carole talking about the wedding between JFK Jr. and Carolyn on Cumberland Island. And I have been there at the same time of year. It was a research trip I took for Ask Not, and I can tell you what it's really like on that island. But let's hear Carole's version first.
It was a very simple wedding. It wasn't fancy at all.
Okay, so she's flipping through her photo album, rather. I believe she believes in her mind, in her Baby Jane mind, in her Norma Desmond mind, that would have been her wedding album. She says, look at that wedding. She doesn't say, look at that wedding cake, but she's flipping and we see their wedding cake, and that wedding cake, she's going, it's not a fancy wedding. That wedding cake cost, I'm going to say conservatively, $5,000. And, it's not a fancy wedding. That's a really wealthy person's version of not a fancy wedding. That island you can only get to by boat, okay? All the food comes into that island by boat. There are maybe 10 residential houses on that island. Getting a wedding together on that thing, that was a very expensive wedding. It may have looked rustic. You know, it's like when people rent out farmhouses or barns for their weddings. It's always city people who do that. Okay. Anyway, Carole goes on about how quaint and private it was.
Like, he was pretty much the most famous guy in the world. As a couple, they were sought after. They got married on a tiny island. There was not a single photographer.
Okay. First of all, she says that he was the most famous man in the world, and as a couple, they were sought after. And I know we've addressed this once before, but the idiocy and inanity of that statement, that super obvious statement, are you fucking kidding me? Then she goes on to say there were no photographers there except for the wedding photographer. And she just says the wedding photographer. She doesn't name him. The wedding photographer was Dennis Reggie, who is the brother of Ted Kennedy's wife, Victoria. So that's a real Kennedy insider, that Carole, okay? Now she goes on to talk about the venue where the actual ceremony took place.
That's the church. Look at it. It was pig shit and horse manure everywhere.
Okay, first of all, it's a chapel. It's not a church. She considers herself a serious writer, a New York Times bestselling author. In all fairness, she is that. She never fails to remind us all she was a producer at ABC News and won Emmys. So you better know the distinction, sister, between a chapel and a church. A chapel, no less, that was built by slaves. And so the idea of a really wealthy, storied, white American political dynasty holding a ceremony inside church could be considered problematic by today's standards. Secondly, I have been inside that chapel. Okay, and let me tell you, this is how dumb JFK Jr. was. That chapel, the windows, what few windows there are, this chapel's like well over, it's like 150 years old. They're painted shut. They're painted shut. There is no air conditioning. There is no ventilation save for the front doors. Okay. It is small, it is squat, and it traps heat. And when I tell you there is nothing like Georgia heat in the summertime, it's like, here's the best way I could describe it. Go sit in a sauna, as hot as you can make it, take a very wet, heavy bath towel, wrap it around your head, and try to breathe. That's what it's like to be in that chapel. And this dimwit, this fuckwit, thought it was a great idea to cram like 50 people in there while his wife took her time getting over there. She was 2 hours late. Like, everybody was soaked through. It's amazing nobody got heat stroke that we know of. Okay, now on to the moment. And this has been very little reported. I wrote about it in my book. I'm amazed they're addressing it at the wedding rehearsal. At that dinner, Carolyn's mother, Anne, who was no fan of John Kennedy and the way he treated her daughter, okay? Despite the spin Carole's going to put on it, she got up to give her wedding toast at the rehearsal dinner. And let's hear what Carole has to say about that.
Carolyn's mother really loved John, but when she made that toast, I'll never forget the end of it. She said, I hope my daughter has the strength for this. Everyone sort of stopped for a moment.
Yeah, that's the polite version, I believe. Carolyn's mother tried to get Carolyn to abandon John Jr., I believe many times, but the first time around, after a Memorial Day weekend when he had her out to his rented house in the Hamptons, and she thought they were really going somewhere, and he ghosted her. And the next thing you know, he's in the gossip pages being photographed with his movie star girlfriend, Daryl Hannah. And her mother clipped that out of the newspaper and mailed it to Carolyn with the words written on it, Carolyn, please move on with your life. Now, so another friend of JFK Jr., after he died, like they all came out of the woodwork, he wrote a book called The Men We Became. This is all marked up because I used these things as research for Ask Not. In Rob's book, he also talks about what Anne said at that rehearsal dinner, and I quote directly. There was a rehearsal dinner on the veranda Friday night. It was boisterous and lighthearted for the most part, except for a toast made by Carolyn's mother, Anne Freeman. I don't remember her exact words. I'm betting he does, and he just didn't want to put them in the pages of his book, My Opinion Only. But she implied that she was worried for her daughter, unsure if this union was in her best interest. In hindsight, it's chilling. Imagine how desperate her mother had to be. Imagine the conversations she tried to have with Carolyn behind closed doors, that she felt, this is an otherwise, by all reports, very classy, elegant woman, felt that was her last best shot at giving her daughter a warning. Don't do this. Now, Carole is going to give us some more of her deep personal insight on the workings of the Kennedy family.
It's a big family. And like all big families, there's a lot of politics and quirks that you just have to learn. Maybe John's family more than other families.
Oh, you don't say. You don't say. That's an observation any asshole off the street could provide. Why is Carole Radziwill here? We're gonna get to Carole and her self-appointed role, again, as the gatekeeper to JFK Jr. and Carolyn. Now, Carole's going to tell us just what a cool girl Carolyn was when it came to the Kennedys.
She didn't play the game. She didn't like suck to anyone. No one in his family. She was just like, hi.
That is not true, okay? And Carole, of course, would perpetuate this myth because Carole tried to be the ultimate cool girl on Bravo, like above it all, too cool for school. Trust me when I tell you, I spoke to friends of Carolyn's who had never spoken before, and she wanted that. She wanted not only to be Mrs. JFK Jr., but she wanted in to the Kennedy family. She wanted the mantle of future First Lady. She wanted it all. And trust me, the Kennedys make it very difficult for anyone on the outside to come in. They don't care. They don't care if you're somebody's intended, you're going to get married. They give you so much shit, okay? It is a hazing to rival. Ask John Hamm. Okay, now, on to the moment the world saw just how volatile, I would say abusive, again, my opinion, but we're going to see video, how abusive this relationship really was.
The last thing you want to do is have a blowout with your girlfriend in public. But that is exactly what happened between John and his girlfriend, Carolyn Bessette.
I remember when Carolyn Bessette and JFK Jr. had a fight outside my dorm.
It was on the cover of every newspaper and every tabloid because there's always somebody photographing them. It started out verbally, but it got physical. You know, whatever he said just really pissed her off, and it was no holding back. She didn't care that she was in the middle of the park.
There are several things. Again, Tabitha Soren, late of MTV VJ fame, circa 1992, is in this documentary. Why? I have no idea. She had nothing to do with either of these two. She didn't know them. She says, "Oh, I'll never forget them fighting outside my dorm." Well, what was it? What were they fighting about, Tabitha? Because if it was that notable, then you should have some specifics. And this fight that we're looking at, the video, again, if you're just listening, you should definitely go look at this video. It's unbelievable. You know, that was 1996, and she was at MTV again in 92. So the chronology is, unless she went back to, I don't know, for her master's, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't track. Now, that video, two things. We don't see the whole video. It was shot by a female paparazzi who just caught them in the park one day, and they were going at it. And, you know, Carolyn is sort of, you know, that gossip columnist you're hearing talk. Again, a gossip columnist, has not been relevant for decades. Again, CNN scraping the bottom of the barrel to get anyone to talk about this shit, rehash it. She's saying, well, Carolyn, you know, she wasn't having it. Like, she didn't care. It was the Prince of Camelot. She was going to give it to him. What we don't see is John taking his hand like this, open palm, and pushing Carolyn back by the face, and then trying to yank off her engagement ring off her finger, yanking it very hard. He could have broken her finger, and then tugging the poor dog by the leash, yanking the dog by the leash. That's around his neck. Never forget, JFK Jr. got his then girlfriend, Daryl Hannah's dog, killed because he was walking around New York City distracted by his own bullshit. The dog ran into traffic and died, okay? Now, that said, Carolyn Bessette, contrary to Carole Radzivill's fairy tale storytelling, again, I think she was really besotted with Carolyn. That was the one for her. She was a very troubled young woman, Carolyn Bessette, and she had a history of physically abusing her intimate partners. Now, again, I pulled up for you guys The Other Man. This was a memoir written by her longtime ex-boyfriend, Michael Bergen. I mean, they were on and off, but like they were in each other's lives for years. He claims he remained in her life romantically after the marriage. I believe it. In his book, he wrote about an incident where Carolyn, who had been using him to get JFK Jr. jealous, okay? So he's like off with another girl who Carolyn spots at a party, and she comes up to Michael Bergen per his book and says, she comes up to him, pushes this woman out of the way, says, "Can I talk to you?" Quote, "She didn't even wait for an answer. She dragged me to the nearest corner, pinned me to the wall, and took my face in her hands, literally burying her fingernails into my skin. What the fuck do you think you're doing?" she hissed. He then realizes that he's got bloody slits on each cheek from where her nails had, quote, burst through the skin. He gets out of there. She follows him, buzzes his apartment, and he says, "I didn't want to let her up, but she buzzed again and again, and she wouldn't stop. I let her through. She walked in fuming. I had never seen such rage in her eyes." She says, "How dare you parade that girl around in front of me?" Mind you, she's trying to land JFK Jr. and has been using Michael, per his version of the story, to get Jr. jealous. "I began to move toward her. First she picks up a huge candle. She picked it up, quote, flung it across the room. She threw it so hard that she chipped the plaster on the wall. I began to move toward her, but she was already reaching for candle number 2. I ducked as it flew past and shattered the window that looked out onto the courtyard. Then she threw a third, striking the mirror over the mantel, the mirror we'd bought together at the flea market, and smashed it to bits. The shards rained down on the floor. There was one candle left. She threw it at my feet, and it gouged a 2-inch hunk out of the polished wood floor. What is wrong with you? She screamed, completely losing control. You like trashy girls? Is that it? You like them dirty? She turned and kicked my TV set, knocking the VCR to the ground, and she literally leapt into the air and came crashing down on the VCR, smashing it. I could go on and on and on, but this is not a stable young woman. Carole, you're not helping anybody by telling this sanitized version of the story. Either tell the real story or get off the screen.
She also was very confident and very strong-willed. And I think when Carolyn came into his life, it ruffled some feathers. Like any fiance then wife, you come with a different perspective. And I think she weeded his social garden a little bit.
I've heard Carole use that phrase more than once. I think the writer in her is very proud of it. Ask some of John's friends, though, and they will tell you she began doing what a lot of wildly insecure people do in relationships. I think Meghan Markle's another one. They start isolating their alpha male. Like, they landed the big guy, they landed the big fish. Now they've got to control who is around and who is saying what, because they have to get there. They have to be the only person that their husband now relies upon. All threats have to be eliminated. That, I think, was the real story of what was going on. Now, John, our Latter-day Saint over here, was busy exploiting his mother's personal pain and public humiliation to save his failing magazine. Here's how he describes it to Oprah.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
This is Marilyn Monroe
I think Biz
singing
Mitchell,
to JFK in
at the
62.
time, went to John and said, it's Bill Clinton's 50th birthday. And I think that gave John the idea of having somebody dressed up like Marilyn Monroe. That was just John's mischievousness, for good or for bad.
All you bootlickers. Drew Barrymore on the cover of George as Marilyn.
That was an intake of breath where you thought, wait a minute, she was having an affair with your father. Are we now going there? Is this what we're going to do?
David Becker, being the deal maker that he is, one thing he agreed to, which I think he maybe later came to regret, is that he gave John complete editorial control.
We're already
dummy.
seeing an immediate return.
Look at John and his
George has
partner
captured the imagination
completely
of
being
advertisers
disrespectful while Pecker is
like no
speaking
other
at a
magazine
presser,
launch in
at
the
his
history of
presser.
publishing.
These two
No one
idiots.
editor has complete editorial control, even Anna Wintour.
Can we talk about that current cover with Drew Barrymore? I'm wondering how the rest of the family reacted to that.
I think in the grand scheme of things, this probably didn't register too high on the Richter scale.
Yeah.
Sure, that didn't register too high on the Richter scale within the Kennedy family because, I guess John hadn't raped a woman or left her for dead. I mean, he was only a year or two out from killing his wife and her sister in a wholly preventable plane crash that he caused. So, it's we're on a sliding scale, it seems. So next we're going to talk about John's overture to his one-time hookup, Madonna, to pose as Jackie Kennedy Onassis. And Jackie famously did not want to meet Madonna, refused to meet Madonna, by all reports. Now, just before we get to another hack journo who hasn't been relevant for decades, talking about John just being so whimsical, like with his mother's legacy. I mean, my God. I just want to say this whole thing, this idea that the Kennedys are royalty and let's look at all the footage of them playing capture the flag or touch football up on the Cape at the Kennedy compound with the ocean. It's drag. It is a drag performance at this point. It is camp. The idea that the Kennedys are American royalty is just, we know, okay? The jig is up. Let's look at this.
Keep in mind, he also once wanted to do a cover of his mother. And he asked his ex-girlfriend Madonna to do it. And she said, Johnny boy, I'm not going to play mommy.
John is always pushing the boundaries and he's testing the limits. It must have been hard for him to grow up with a father who was mythical. The only things he remembered from his father were the memories that people told him. He has none of his own memories. His dad was a trailblazer, the first Catholic president of the United States. He was pushing boundaries all over the place. So I think of John as having a little
Carole.
of that.
He was pushing boundaries all over the place. Like when his wife had a miscarriage and her daughter was stillborn and he's off partying on a yacht with like bikini babes and starlets, that's pushing boundaries. Or, when he had Jackie committed to a mental institution to get electroshock therapy because as a young senator's wife, she couldn't understand why her husband was never coming home. That's pushing boundaries. Maybe if his father wasn't still held up by people like you as a mythological figure, John would have maybe had a healthier perspective about who his father really was. And, and to hear like some journalist who like barely knew the guy going, oh, Madonna said Johnny boy. It's like, I can't, like this whole thing is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now, all of this peacocking that Carole is doing, sitting there in her very sober, serious, like pilgrimy dress, right? She probably went and blew like $2,500 on it. Like, and her white collar and her, and her 3 gold neck, and she's sitting there she's very serious. Now this reminded me, and you guys are going to love it. It's so effing good. Carole also made a very dignified, very serious appearance. You know, she's very discerning, this one. Go look at her social media. She takes herself very seriously. I'm surprised she hasn't done everything she could to bury her very, very serious appearance on Hollywood Medium with Tyler Henry. Let's go. You gotta see this intro. It's like clouds. I'm looking at New York with scribbles, because Tyler scribbles on shit. That's how spirits come to him.
For being in New York, I'm
scribbling
usually
on a
really
big
overwhelmed
pad.
with energies coming through, but for whatever reason today, it's actually quite relaxed. But I'm gonna be curious to see how the client is. This will be interesting. Hello. Hi, I'm Tyler.
So nice to
Lovely
meet you. Carol, come
Oh,
in.
Thank you for having me.
My name is Carole Radziwill, and Tyler might recognize me from the Bravo TV show Real Housewives of New York City.
Tyler might recognize me. First of all, that's not Carol's house. We've seen her apartment on the show. So already that's a lie. Secondly, we're going to watch Tyler, who has his own TV show, which means he presumably has an agent and a production team and entertainment lawyers. So he would be well-versed in said medium, no pun intended, knowing exactly who everybody is because they have production meetings about what famous guests they can get. And again, we are scraping because we've got Carole Radziwill, but let's watch him pretend he doesn't have an iPhone or access to Google or Instagram.
Now, I don't know what you do for a living. I just don't watch much TV or anything, and you may not even be in TV. I could be Broadway for all I know. I have no clue.
I was charmed when he thought that perhaps maybe I was a Broadway star. Sadly, I'm not. But honestly, I felt like he really did not have any idea who I was, which is so refreshing.
It's so refreshing to meet somebody who has no idea who I am because I am just that fucking famous. This woman's out of her mind. She's out of her gourd. And she's going to tell us she's sophisticated enough to be giving us this version of events over here on CNN. And she's going to pretend this asshole. Sorry, I think this guy's a huge scammer. He's very creepy. Again, I hope if you are listening, please watch this part of the show. I have never seen someone with such dead eyes. You know how they say, like, you can tell a fake smile because, like, the eyes don't really light up? It's like the smile goes wide and there is just, it feels like this pathological, like, he's not latching into anybody. Okay, so anyway, here, Carol is going to give Tyler a physical object that she believes will help the spirit she's wishing to talk to come through.
There's a weird reference to an individual who died tragically at like a very early age that I would have to highlight.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You mean, you know that I had a best friend who died in a plane crash that only made worldwide headlines? How would you know that? I mean, it's not like I can't stop talking about her whenever there's a TV camera in front of me because it's a circular thing. The only way I get a TV camera in front of me is by talking about this poor woman and exhuming what remained of her body after her husband nosedived his plane into the Atlantic Ocean. Holy shit. All right, let's see what Tyler's got to say.
Tyler was connecting with Carolyn Bessette, who was my closest friend and also my cousin by marriage. My late husband, Anthony, and his cousin, John Kennedy, was married to Carolyn. So she was Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. So not only were we friends, but we were family.
Okay, you were not family. You were not. John was your husband's cousin and Carolyn was his wife. You were not family. And I just love how she like tries to so casually put these pieces together. It's like, oh, do I have to tell you? Carolyn's husband was John Kennedy Jr. So Tyler says that Tyler knows exactly what Carole wants to hear. So if you're telling me this kid hasn't watched Real Housewives of New York City or had a production assistant do the reading in and the viewing, then, I mean, so Tyler has a very specific message for Carole from Carolyn.
And I just have to go on the record and say, she viewed you like a sister. Like when she came through, she's like my sister, the way it comes across.
Right, well, we used to say we were like sisters. So we were all family and best friends.
I mean, in case you didn't get it, this segment, by the way, is like 11 minutes tops. Like Carole's making sure, like she's not desperate or anything, but like they did say they were like sisters and like they were best friends, and also they were related because her husband, whose like name never gets mentioned, her husband, like John Kennedy. Now, I would also kill to know the friends, if they remained, that Carole had from her life before marrying John Kennedy's cousin, who shall remain nameless as Carole keeps him. He's dead. She keeps him, nameless. I would love to know what those friends really think of her going, again, to any media network that will have her and saying, Carolyn was my best friend. She was like a sister to me. We were sisters. I mean, we were cousins, but we were sisters. Like, I would love to know. I would love. Now, watch Tyler's expressions as Carole hands him another object from another dearly departed person she's hoping to connect with.
I have another thing. I mean,
sure.
It's a watch.
Look at that. I love it.
It's something that has a lot of meaning to me.
All right.
Tyler's struggling.
Truthfully, off of this object, I'm not sure if I'm picking up enough time. So with this object, I don't think I'm connecting to the source of this object. So who would this object belong to?
That was my late husband's watch. And he had cancer. And he passed away just 3 weeks after.
Tyler's making his best sad face, but he doesn't really give a shit.
Carolyn, who gave me the ring, passed away. So it was a rough couple of years there.
Like, this is really depressing.
My gosh.
I don't necessarily.
It's like, oh my God, exit me out of this.
Think like, oh, he's the one that needs to come back and talk to me and stuff. So it's nice that she comes kind of, for some reason, I think it's nice that she comes on her own.
I think Anthony, the ghost, has ghosted Carole, okay? I think Anthony is like, lady, you used me to get into my family. You just said my late husband, but really the person you wanted to talk to was Carolyn. We all know that's who you were really in love with. Oh my God. Okay, now Carole is going to talk about her fame on reality television.
She's having me talk about a reference to TV show, and then I'm having to talk about reality, and I want to highlight this. Now,
I am on a reality TV show.
Okay, great. Awesome.
That's nuts.
I have to talk about like the thumbs up with this, but
So
there's a reference.
nuts.
Oh, good.
To like, this is a good thing.
My career has changed dramatically since when she passed on. I was working at ABC News, and I was a producer.
We know.
Now I'm on this immensely popular but somewhat crazy reality show, Real Housewives of New York.
Oh, well.
So you have seen it.
I know the name.
Okay. I'm on this immensely popular but kind of crazy show. The idea that Carolyn Bessette would have in any way thought this was a good idea defies logic, okay? Lee Radziwill, who survived her only son, Anthony, who was married to Carole, never spoke of it, and apparently really didn't speak to Carole after her son died, okay? So this whole idea that like they would think it was totally classy that she's on a show like this where everybody's getting drunk and calling each other all manner of terrible names and doing terrible things, embarrassing things. Carole goes to London to collect her husband's ashes and goes back to her hotel with the urn and puts on her headphones and makes sure that the camera gets her best angle as she gets into the fetal position and cries with his ashes while tears stream. Are you fucking kidding me? That's class? Okay, now watch Tyler. This is the real part of the reality show where, you know, they start breaking down the set and they say the cameras are going to go down, but they're not really. And everybody knows the deal. So does Carole. So does Tyler. That they begin having like the real conversation that they would never otherwise let us be privy to, even though we're the ones who are watching it and putting money in these people's whatever. And watch Tyler pretend not to have been able to put all this together until Carole tells him.
I mean, Carolyn Bessette, obviously, she was married to John Kennedy.
Oh. This kid is not any kind of actor. And listen, Carolyn, I can't. But I want to say something else before I get into the final note on Carole. Tyler Henry, who has marketed himself as a psychic these many years, and has a TV show and all of it, okay, was fairly recently diagnosed with a brain tumor. Now, of course, our heartfelt thoughts, we want nothing but the best for him to go forth, prosper, get his health back on track, all of it. But the question must be asked, what kind of a psychic are you? If you didn't see that coming. No disrespect intended. Now, finally, a troublemaker named Crystal emailed me to make sure I was aware of this, and I was not, and you are never going to believe this. So this is Carole's memoir, What Remains. I bought it when it came out, or I had it sent to me. I hope I didn't put money in her pocket. But this has gone unremarked upon. And you are never, ever, ever going to guess who took her author photo for her very, very serious, not at all ghostwritten memoir about John, Carolyn, and some guy she married. So this is Carole's author photo, and then beneath are the credits. The photo credit is Ghislaine fucking Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine, I think you say Ghislaine, whatever. She took Carole's photo. Let's talk about that, Carole. Why don't we talk about that? How you know her. We'll keep it up. Don't worry. We've got part 3 next week. Okay. Anyway, coming up, we are going to rearrest some more repeat offenders. And then we're going to get straight to your emails. So back in a minute. Are you looking to support more made in the USA manufacturing this year? Whether it's home decor, clothing, or furniture, it's become extremely difficult to find high quality products that aren't made overseas. A recent Forbes report revealed that annual earnings for small businesses across the US have dropped by over 75% since 2023. Small businesses in this country are struggling to stay afloat, and with the likes of Amazon and Target dominating the market, it's no wonder. That is where a warehouse comes in. It is your one-stop shop for artisanal, one-of-a-kind home goods. With hundreds of products to choose from, they're deeply committed to supporting American manufacturers. Their easy-to-navigate online marketplace lets you browse a wide range of independent makers, and you can feel good knowing that your purchase supports real people upholding transparent and ethical business practices. A Warehouse believes that true luxury isn't about fancy labels or big brand names. It's about the dedication, creativity, and care that goes into every product. Help A Warehouse hit their goal of supporting over 100 small businesses. Head to awarehouseshop.com and use code THENERVE for 15% off your first order. That's awarehouseshop.com, code THENERVE. We are back. First up, Tracee Ellis Ross. Now, I'm going to say with 99% assurance that Tracee Ellis Ross clearly watched our mini on her, on her dwarf mind, on her incurious mind, on her stupid show, Solo Traveling, where she travels to 5-star resorts and never leaves them. And her disgusting, her hygienically repulsive habit of dry brushing in public places, particularly on airplanes, okay? This is so effing gross. It's the equivalent of watching somebody clip their toenails, okay? Or just bite their nail, whatever. Okay, so this is clearly a very emotionally, psychologically mature woman, because this wound up in my algorithm over the weekend, and I swear to God, I know it. This is her response to our mini. Take a look at this. Here she is, aggressively dry brushing herself in a public place, making a face of utter defiance. And to this I say, you are like, she's dry brushing everything, and now she's got a smug smirk on her face, and now she's smiling into the camera. Lady, this is disgusting, and I am putting out like an emergency clarion call to all troublemakers. If you see this woman in the wild, and those of you who work for the airlines in particular, I know you're not supposed to tell first class guests they can't have anything or do anything. I implore you, this needs to be stopped immediately. You see this woman in an airport lounge out in the wild doing this, please go up to her or ask someone who is an employee to go up to her and tell her to stop, because nobody wants to inhale her disgusting skin flakes with their dust mites and their microbacteria, which she's too dumb to even fucking realize. Okay, just get out. Now, on to one Andrew Cohen. We at The Nerve are going to call him Andrew Cohen, not Andy, because the diminution of that name makes him sound cuddly and harmless. And I believe he's anything but. And we got a ton of response, by the way, to our Bravo segment that we did on the most recent Full Nerve. And you guys are clamoring for it. Like we're all seeing and hearing the same things. Okay. So there's another Bravo expat named Todd. Now, Todd was or is, it's unclear, a house husband of the Real Housewives of Miami's Alexia. He posted this to Instagram, and it has since been taken down, but troublemaker Heather emailed it to me on Monday morning, and it reads in part, enough is enough. The second you dared portray me as someone who doesn't care about my stepson, a young man living with a brain injury, you revealed who you really are. This season, it's obvious your entire storyline revolves around attacking me and one woman, a cancer survivor, no less. You've allowed gang-style pile, physical violence, gaslighting, microaggression, and racially charged comments go unchecked. This is what you promote. This is your brand. I guess Bravo, NBC Universal's lawyers maybe got in touch with Todd. But there's a lot of Todds out there, and there's a lot of Brandi Glanvilles out there. Now, Brandi, has made no shortage of accusations against Andrew Cohen involving sexual harassment and inappropriate messages, and she has the receipts. In an interview with Jessica Finn of the U.S. Sun, dated August 21st, 2024, Brandi said, and I quote, "At BravoCon, Andy texted me saying that he wanted me to hook up with his stage manager, and I almost felt like, do I have to do this? He was saying, quote, I want you, my employee, to F another one of my employees. And then also, by the way, I think you should F Austin. He has eyes for you. Your boss should never talk to you that way." Brandi goes on, "He really is like pimping me out. I mean, it felt that way. What am I supposed to do? Go and hook up with these guys and tell you," meaning Andrew, "about how the sex is because you told me to? That is a different kind of boss. That is a pimp. I am not a hooker. You are not my pimp. Now, Brandy Glanville's lawsuit against Cohen and Bravo, according to a Page 6 report dated October 15th, 2024, was sunk by the sexual harassment allegations made against Brandy by another housewife. We discussed this in the last Full Nerve episode, the same segment. But I would still encourage you to go to that original report in the U.S. Sun. I'll give you the date again, because embedded in that report is the actual video in which it's the video Andy allegedly sent to Brandy, in which he seems, to my eyes, visibly drunk and or high. He is with another Bravo star. Again, the U.S. Sun dated this piece August 21st, 2024. You can go and watch this video, because he's very slippery, and he always puts on a very friendly, happy face. Oh gosh, I didn't know she'd take it that way. Like, I was just kidding. We're just all kidding around, right? You see this video and you see what a malevolent, dark creep this guy is. Just my opinion. I'm going to quote, though, what he says in this video. His eyes are red. They're glassy. You know when somebody's like so drunk or high, like you're like, the real person that's coming out right now is terrifying. That's the real person, that the mask is off. This is Andy, and I quote, "Hey, Brandy." He's standing next to this woman. "We have something to tell you. We're fucking tonight, and we're going to talk about you the whole time. So it's kind of like a threesome. Actually, if you're around tonight in 90 minutes or 2 hours, do you want to watch us on FaceTime?" How this guy is still the face of Bravo, let alone still employed there, it's beyond me. I mean, unless, the only real obvious answer to that would be that he's probably got vaults of dirt on everyone. But at some point, you've got to think NBC Universal will have to take the trash out. And by trash, I do mean one Andrew Cohen. Okay, now on to your emails, dear Maureen. Last week on one of your episodes, you were wondering who this woman, Leah Wright Rigueur, is, the talking head on the JFK Jr. documentary, who has nothing to say, but JFK Jr. was America's prince. I mean, we don't have royalty in America, but we have royalty. And he was like that. That's the level. Okay. We're like, okay. So this troublemaker named Rose says she is the latest DEI hire for assistant professor at Johns Hopkins, where she took the place of All Worlds Connect, Real Housewives of Potomac cast member Wendy Osefo, if I'm saying that right. I haven't seen that show. Leah is doing everything Wendy did to get on the Real Housewives, like becoming a ridiculous talking head on CNN and MSNBC, which now has new call letters. We're not going into it. Talking as if she is the authority on famous people she is actually completely clueless about, despite somehow being an associate professor of history. Okay, dear Maureen, I've been loving your discussions on Bill Maher. Oh, also loves the Newsreader, the Australian show I recommended last week. And oh my God, I got stuck last night up on season 2, episode 3, and technical difficulties, but I was like, I was dying. I was like, I'm trying to get to episode 4. Okay. She's loving the show too, as many of you are. I've been loving your discussions on Bill Maher. I do enjoy his show and went to see him in Las Vegas 2 years ago. Imagine my surprise. Oh, troublemaker. I can. After spending $250 per ticket, that A, the theater was more than half empty, and B, he set up a freaking easel with his talking points and frequently referred to them. It seemed like such a phone-in job and was really disappointing. I didn't pay $500 for a guy who had to keep referring to his notes. Didn't happen when I saw Jerry Seinfeld. Maureen, we cannot breeze through the mind meld of SJP and Carrie Bradshaw without mentioning the Sex and the City plotline involving Carrie dating David Duchovny's character, who wound up in a mental institution. Do we think the writers were fucking with Sarah? Because I do. I believe the last time she saw him, they were having a picnic on the show and were interrupted by another patient who was running around screaming, quote, feces. He must have been a prophet. Regards, Xenia. Cool name. yeah, we're going to get to it in the next segment. And we heard you because Tim, the makeup artist, is back and we're discussing the final episode, should we be so lucky. Now, please, again, continue to email me all your thoughts, observations, suggestions, all of it. And unlike Sarah Jessica Parker and Carole Radziwill, I can take criticism. So send that too, okay? And just another friendly reminder to like, subscribe, and spread the word. We have an exciting announcement that I think we're going to be able to share on Friday's Nerve. So just email me, okay? Maureen at devilmaycaremedia.com. You can DM me, on Instagram at Maureen Callahan Writer or at The Nerve Show. Coming up, our friend Tim for our final farewell. So long. I wish I could remember all the words from Auf Wiedersehen, The Sound of Music. Anyway, we'll see you in a minute. We've all had days when skin feels dull, hydration doesn't stick, and energy is all over the place, and no amount of water, skincare, or coffee seems to help. That's where Peak's Radiant Skin Duo comes to the rescue, and this is a game changer. It is a doctor-recommended product trusted by experts like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Jason Fung, and Dr. Will Cole. It supports whole body wellness from the inside out, and with over 15,000 five-star reviews, it's clear this product delivers, and here is why. Sun Goddess Matcha provides steady, calm energy throughout the day, no jitters, packed with L-theanine for focus and EGCG antioxidants. It supports skin clarity and gut health because great skin starts from within. BT Fountain electrolytes hydrate like nothing else. Even with plenty of water, many of us still feel dehydrated. The difference here are clinically proven ceramides that lock moisture into the skin at a cellular level, leaving it plump, fresh, and glowing. Purity matters. Peak ensures all ingredients are free from heavy metals, pesticides, and mold. Just clean, science-backed hydration and energy. So say goodbye to fatigue, dry skin, and energy crashes. If you are ready for healthier hydration, get 20% off plus a free frother and glass beaker here. We are back. Troublemakers, the time has come to eradicate Sarah Jessica Parker. The cast, the showrunner, the writers, the producers, the caterers, anyone who contributed to And Just Like That. You're out. You're gone from the culture. You're banished for all eternity. To help us spread the ashes is one Tim, the makeup artist, Tim McKay. Welcome back to The Nerve.
Hi, Maureen. Thank you so much for having me. And I don't know how you got that hat. I know Sarah Jessica Parker has it in her contracts that she keeps all of her wardrobe. So I don't know how you got that, but it looks so perfect on you.
Well, thanks, Tim. I mean, listen, you could always tell me the truth. We did our version in Nerve Red. I realize it looks like I'm wearing like a pizza parlor's table on my head. Nonetheless, I had to pay homage to the one and only fashion icon that is Carrie/SJP in this body horror epic for the ages. So tell me, let's get your overall thoughts to the final episode of And Just Like That.
All right. So basically, overall thoughts is that it was a slog of an episode. I took lots of notes. I don't know.
I love you for that. You're like, we're like twin souls in that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I keep the books out on display for a reason, Maureen, because I know books are important to you. So, but no, I don't know what I took notes on though, because there was nothing happening in this episode. It just felt a little like sad. Like I know they were really trying to drive home the theme of like being alone, and being okay with being alone, and I love that message. I just don't really believe it. I just feel like with Sarah Jessica, with her character of Carrie, I don't really believe it from the character of Carrie that she's okay now all on her own. That, you know, she even brought up in an interview she did recently with the New York Times that she, like, you know, she went on from Big's death to, in her mind, she was, oh, well, maybe Aiden, like, oh, that's what you think when your husband dies. Okay, like you're right on to the next guy. So I just really don't.
Let's go digging back through the crates of all the people we discarded years ago who she was completely incompatible with and actually loathed. Yeah, why not? It's not, there's no codependency there. Yeah.
Not at all. But then she's miraculously all happy on her own by the last episode. And I just don't buy it. I just don't.
Agreed. Now, I have got to ask you about the things that I think stood out for most of us. I have been reading all the commentary online, by the way. Excuse me, wrong word. So we got 2 scenes of men urinating. The first was in the beginning of the episode, and we didn't actually see it per se, but we saw, the second was the Victor Garber character, and we got not only a scene of him urinating, but we saw the stream. Now, first of all, this is part of a larger problem in the culture. At some point, every filmmaker or showrunner decided that the way to communicate authenticity is by showing people on the toilet. And then by making it clear what they were expelling. They all think they're like Mike Lee doing a kitchen sink drama. I don't want to see any of this. Bathrooms have doors for a reason. Why are we doing this? But there was a theory online that this might actually be Michael Patrick King's sexual kink.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it brings up a really good example of something that did it perfectly was Dumb and Dumber. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I forget the actor's name, but it's hilarious. When he goes into the woman's bathroom and he's just unloading in there, they show him on the toilet, but they don't show what he did in there. It's left up to your imagination. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what makes it funny. But when they show it, the toilet overflowing and showing what's in the toilet, this episode, I was disgusted. I was like, what is going on here? And it's not funny. No one's watching look at our imagination would have done just fine.
That was where I was going to go next with you. The floating turd in the toilet was the moment where I put my hand over my face in between the screen. I don't want to see anymore. And I really felt that was a deliberate FU from MPK and SJP, not just to the suits over at HBO, but to all of us who have been hate watching and have dared to criticize their great work of postmodern art over here. Why are we looking at this?
It made no sense. I'm this is your finale episode and this is what you're spending time on. It was a disaster I started off really lightly, but it was a disaster of a finale episode. The Thanksgiving theme, it was a horrible Thanksgiving episode. It was very uncomfortable and sad. There was a trio of friends that came that were insufferable to listen to. The gay character.
So the Gen Zers, right?
Oh my God, I couldn't do it. I was rolling my eyes at every line. The Epcot joke wasn't funny. I'm sorry if I'm jumping all over the place, but
no, it's
I
fine.
just feel this. It just felt like a really I love how they're this is this is where it was a good place to end it. And I'm was it? Because it's a really uncomfortable Thanksgiving episode.
Well, it's clear that they had to do a lot of just chopping up in the editing to make this feel like a series finale rather than a season finale. As others have pointed out online, HBO didn't even do them the courtesy of changing the description in the show notes when you go to stream it from season finale to series finale. So HBO was shivving them. We're not even going to give you the pretense of being able to say, you came to us and said, we're such artists and we're so pure in our intentions. You could throw us buckets more millions, but we cannot do any more with these characters. We must leave their integrity intact. That's HBO saying, no way, sister. No way, MPK. We run the show. We fired you.
I know. And if that's true, if they really believe that that's where the story ends, then why isn't Sarah Jessica Parker trying to shop this now to other networks and trying to get this?
Allegedly, that's the report. She's fuming that she's been shown the door.
So it's just where the characters end on HBO, but they have plenty more. That's what I'm saying. I just feel like there was so much that they introduced even this season that they had to quickly rush up and wrap up. And they're yep, no, this is exactly how we would have ended it. I'm really? Why did you introduce things then? That doesn't make any sense.
Just to get back for a moment to what trash people these are who are creating the show and writing it and producing it. And, again, if SJP is she's basically the co-creator at this point with MPK, they're always talking about how they work in tandem as a team. Describe to me the decision. Again, this is an FU to Cynthia Nixon, I believe. So the toilet overflows after one of the guests. We see what was floating in there. The toilet then overflows. We cut next to Cynthia Nixon in her very expensive Thanksgiving outfit on her hands and knees cleaning up the bathroom floor. So she didn't change and she's not masked up or anything. And then in comes her new girlfriend and they start having just a regular conversation. Like everything's cool. There's not like a bunch of disgusting human waste all over the place. And then the girlfriend gets down on her knees on the floor to talk eye to eye. Like, are we, so that's what they did to those two characters. Okay. And then towards the end of the show, we cut to them eating together at the table in the same clothes. Like they just were cleaning up human waste on a bathroom floor, and now they're sharing a meal.
Even that relationship feels rushed. I mean, like how Miranda left Thanksgiving. Didn't she leave the whole Thanksgiving because of the dog and the new girlfriend's dog? And I would be so upset if I was Brady and my mom just ran out and left to go visit her new girlfriend because I don't care if the dog has like swallowed something. I'm just like, this is Thanksgiving. Where are you going, Mom? And then, yeah, she comes in and they all have their shoes on. They never take their shoes off, even though this is New York City and it's disgusting. But yeah, she's on the floor in her shoes, in her nice outfit, hands and knees. And like, luckily they didn't show anything on the floor. They weren't showing smears of anything. It looked pretty clean by the time they showed it to us. But I mean, like, yeah, right. I just highly doubt she would have shut the door and had her cleaning lady come and clean it up
Exactly. Women at that economic level, someone else is always cleaning up the mess. You are calling
100%.
the plumber, the super. You're a woman like that. You know what she's going. The super is not even like actually American. He's from like South America, so he doesn't care about Thanksgiving. It's cool. That's what they're thinking. That's the conversation.
100%.
So I also want to get to Sarah Jessica Parker as, of course, the 900-year-old sprightly ingenue that no man can resist. And she throws a fit, a quiet one, but nonetheless a hissy fit at Miranda's because she says to Charlotte, you dared to hook me up with your wealthy art dealer boss. And Charlotte says, well, he has his own plane. And she's like, I don't care. I mean, again, it's just everybody bows to Carrie Bradshaw.
Totally. And, you know, he was only put in there to be an example so that Carrie can say, no, I choose myself. Because, like,
yes,
that's the only reason why he was put in that scene. Because when he first got to the door, I was like, wait, did I miss something? Like, who is this again? Like, I don't know if we had seen him before, but if we have, I just forgot. I'm sure we have seen him before. I just forgot.
That's the writer's fault. You should know who that is. That's the writer's fault.
And I was, okay. And so when he gets there, yeah, it was just funny that I was like, his only purpose of being here right now is to like turn Carrie off. And it's very clear that she's not into him. And so that she can say, you know what, I choose myself. And I love how Carrie like Irish exits too. She just like Irish exits the whole Thanksgiving and goes home. But yeah, no, I thought that was
she's
silly.
such an asshole. You know, I'm going to quote from Sarah Jessica Parker eulogizing herself / Carrie in the pages of the New York Times in a moment. But my other favorite thing, that no New Yorker does this. No New Yorker. So she's delivering pies to everyone on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
And she's doing it via cab. She's in the back of a cab, which it would be a black X Uber. Okay. It would be, she's not setting foot in there unless it's been detailed 5 seconds ago. And she's in super high heels and she's just delivering holiday cheer to everybody with her unboxed pies coming in all around town. And then when they try to have like a wonder, like, thank you, this is so meaningful. I would love to say, meter's running. I mean, I only inherited $500 million from my husband who I let die on the bathroom floor to inherit said money. But you know, my meter's running, gotta go, as if she wouldn't be having them just delivered by some, again, a migrant, you know, who needs some extra cash, and they would be boxed up. Like, it's this kind of stuff that just drives me up the effing wall. Oh, okay. Also, the fashion show. I got to get your take on the fashion show, the bridal fashion show, where these four, okay, Cynthia Nixon's not there, I guess, because she's a lesbian now. She doesn't care about fashion. So it's an excuse to get Sarah Jessica Parker in a frame with Nicole Ari Parker, who, for my money, is the most beautiful of all of them. And I think Sarah Jessica was very threatened by her, and that's why she's had her siloed storyline all the way over here, okay? And they dress her, as you said, and just distract in those horrible clothes. So they're sitting front row. Tim, explain why they would A, never be front row at this point, and B, how inelegant and rude it is to talk all the way through a fashion show.
I noticed that, the whole talking thing. Like, it was almost like, I get it that this is a TV show and you have to have some dialogue, but they were not quiet about it. They were just blatantly like, I don't know. They would never be front row. You're absolutely correct about that. It is very hard to get front row. And I don't care if you're a successful sex columnist who then had some books come out. Like, you're not the most important person in the room. You're not going to be sitting front row. Front row is for like Anna Wintour, and it's for whoever is the most big, like the hottest celebrities at the moment. Whoever the hottest celebrities are at the moment.
And on TikTok,
sit front row.
whoever the hottest influence. So it's Emily Ratajkowski, and it's like I don't know, Ice Spice, and then maybe Anna. You know, come on.
Totally. Nicki Minaj, like, and then whoever is like in the biggest movie at the time right now, like, I mean, if Tom Cruise went to fashion shows, he would be front row. But
Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, and that's also the thing too, is they'll get front row, but not their posse, not the people that they're with. They'll sit behind them. So like, no, the front row is for photos, and it is for you to sit there and look perfect, and it is for you to be with a row of famous people. It is not for you to be with your friends, like, chatting. No, so it was just very unrealistic, completely.
Yeah, the whole thing, you know, and just to the Gen Z depiction, which I just think, again, is like, they should have hired someone young to be on that writing staff, you know, because the guy who is part of the posse of the pregnant girlfriend or the pregnant hookup, whatever, is he's clearly written as a young gay guy in New York City, but the way they depicted him, it was like the most obnoxious, feral, dated, like, he comes into her house and he starts voguing all over the place, and she comes in and she's like, "Hi, welcome to my house for Thanksgiving dinner," and he's like, "Can't stop, won't stop."
They were so rude, Maureen. I wanted to rip my eyes out, and it was almost like you're right, dated. It was almost like I'm sorry to say this, but the type of gay, the stereotype that annoys a lot of people, and like a lot of people that maybe have a bad opinion of gay people already, or have a negative, that's what they're assuming that gay people are like. So it's just kind of, and I just remember back in the day, like, it was like, if you were gay, you were kind of like the entertainment of your girlfriends, because it was like you were expected to be like, "Hey girls," and like la 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 la, and so that just kind of like reinforces that stereotype. And I'm not one to be like, "Oh my God, poor me," like stereotypes. I don't care, but I just think that character was grating to listen to and unrealistic, because it was so rude. Who walks into someone they don't know's apartment and just starts voguing like that, and like in front of everyone, being rude about it? I don't like it. I don't like that at all.
I think you raise an excellent point in terms of what depictions like that pump out into the culture and might affect the way people think a subset of a culture behaves, or, you know, like, it all just goes to, I just think everybody involved in the show is pretty much trash. Like, there was nobody who could stand up and say, nobody would do that. Nobody would go to someone's fancy home in New York City and behave that way. To that point, Tim, what do you make of the Mario Cantone character, Anthony?
Is that Anthony? I was like, Anthony. I think, you know, he's been like that forever, and I kind of find him tolerable. You know, that's his, like, I feel like I do know gay men like him. So like, that's totally fine. Yes, I do. And I mean, he can be a little extreme. I think everything with him has to be a punchline, which that's not believable. But I think I do know sassy gay men like him that I feel like he does have a good heart, the character. I feel like it's because we've also gotten to know him from the previous show, Sex and the City. So he's a little more tolerable. I mean, sometimes he's a little grating, but I feel like he's more believable as a character than this last minute let's throw in a gay character and have him be every stereotype and very annoying and almost like a butt of a joke. Like, let's have him be so that people, look at the gay guy, he's voguing there. And I'm like, well, that's not what we would do. Well, that's not what I would do if I came to your house for Thanksgiving. So
I think he would show up with like a lovely scented candle and maybe some like gourmet cookies. That's what I think he would do.
And flowers, Maureen, for you.
Well, you're on the list. Consider yourself invited. I also wanted to get your thoughts on the Charlotte/Harry storyline, which was Harry, after undergoing treatment for prostate cancer, comes into the kitchen on Thanksgiving morning with at least one of their daughters at home and says, "Honey, I have an erection." And they rush off to the bedroom, and the oldest daughter just rolls her eyes and is like, "Yeah, off they go. Off they go."
Yep. And then someone comes and like knocks on the door. I forgot who it was, but
Carrie.
They ask, Carrie. She's
Carrie.
like, where are your parents? Yeah, I think it's Carrie. And she's like, where are your parents? And Lily's just like, in the bedroom, like something like that. Like, oh, like, okay. I would be mortified if I ever, that's just disgusting. But also, I love how Michael Patrick King said that was like their arc, that like they finally got to have sex in the final episode. Like that was their big climax, literally, I guess. So I just think that's kind of sad for Charlotte. Like that's what your whole storyline amounted to, was just finally, you had sex with your husband and your daughter, your whole family knows about it.
Do you know what she said? Two very interesting things. Kristen Davis, who plays Charlotte, one that after either season 1 or season 2 of And Just Like That, when she got her contract, they had written in that they would like to downgrade her to like an acquaintance level, like a sometime character. And her entertainment, like either her agent or her lawyer said, listen, we're just going to ignore that. Pretend they didn't ask you that. And she said that's what she did. And then the other thing she said on her podcast, I read this, I haven't been able to find it, is that when season 3 premiered, she was in Paris. Do you know where I'm going? She was in Paris and she wanted to go to the Chanel store. She wanted to go treat herself. And she stopped herself from going because she said, we didn't know if we were getting a renewal. Which puts that's the truth. These two over here, like, we're creative geniuses. We were doing this from the get-go.
I do remember the actress Kristen Davis saying that on her podcast, because when the podcast first came out, I was like, oh, this could be fun. And I do like Kristen Davis as an actress. So I do remember her saying that she just didn't sign that contract because they didn't know what to do with her character. All the other characters were kind of based on, I forgot the creator of the show's name, but like her experiences and her friends' experiences.
Candace Bushnell.
Candace, yes. So yeah, there was nothing for Kristen really to do. I mean, how cool that she got to stick around the show, but even like with their fashion, that nothing was really like set up until I feel like season 3 of that show. Like nothing was really set in stone.
No. Tim, I know you have to go, and I thank you for making time in your busy schedule to address this cultural catastrophe that we now hopefully have put to bed.
Well, it's a finale that gave Game of Thrones a run for its money for worst finale. And I wanted to say something quick, if I can, if you just have a minute.
Please, of course.
I wanted to shout out your troublemakers. You have some really amazing troublemakers here at The Nerve. I got a lot of really sweet messages on Instagram, a lot of great shout outs and just really kind messages, which I really appreciated. And I even booked a wedding in Austin, Texas, from one of your troublemakers who reached out and just liked my vibe from the segment that we did and booked me for a wedding. So thank you, Lauren. I just want to give you a little shout out.
I love it. I love to hear all of this. And that troublemaker in Austin she's going to look gorgeous. You are among the absolute best at what you do, and you're a good hang on top of it. So
thank you so much, Maureen. And have me back anytime. I would love to be back. You're the absolute best. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim. We'll see you soon.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye. So we had to let Tim go early because he's got work to do, but I wanted to mention a few more things before we go. Now, Sarah Jessica Parker gave what I would call an exit interview to the New York Times. It's a Q&A by Alexis Solosky. It was published August 15th, 2025. Now, before we get to the question, I just want to note, I heard from a lot of you troublemakers who had no idea that Matthew Broderick had killed a mother and her daughter in a head-on collision. I believe it was a head-on collision in Ireland, and that he skated with a $175 fine, making the value of their lives, in my opinion, $87.50 each. And so what did he and his wife do? They went and they bought land in Ireland where they have built a mansion. And one of you guys pointed out to me that the mansion itself is located right outside Kilcar, Ireland. Kilcar. It's spelled Kilcar, but it nonetheless is Kilcar. And I think that's really fucked up. I think it's really freaking dark. I have another Broderick email. I'll read it on Friday's show. Now, the question to SJP: having played Carrie for all this time, how has she changed? Sarah, she's wiser. She had, after the loss of a husband, a sort of nobility. We would all beg to differ. Okay, sister? We would all beg to differ. Same with this answer. Countless times, she was the kind of friend she needed to be. The way she devoted herself to people that she cared about. You mean like in the scene where one of her friends was talking about desperately trying to find a place to live, and Carrie said, "What does this have to do with me?" Like that? When And Just Like That debuted, well, whatever. Okay, it was also frequently described as a hate watch. To Sarah, do you understand why? Here's the meat of the answer. I guess I don't really care. And the reason I don't care is because it has been so enormously successful. So that is someone who is putting something out into the marketplace and calling it art, and then has to say to all of the fans who stuck with it and even hate watched it that she doesn't care. That if you think what they did was terrible, which is the universal reaction, honey, okay, it's empirical, that she doesn't give a shit. So this is going to be great for her trying to get hired again, which is not going to happen as an actress because she has now fused herself, as discussed. We are at the end of The Substance, where the Demi Moore character has fused and become the monster, and that's Sarah Jessica Parker. Just think of that monster, that monstrosity, spewing bile all over Hollywood when she can't get anyone to give her a gig. Okay. Now, Michael Patrick King to The Hollywood Reporter, his exit interview, a Q&A with Jackie Strauss, published August 14th, 2025. I mean, the numbers are huge. They're not huge, Michael Patrick King, okay? We know what they are. Like, they're less than 400,000 views, which again could just be a couple of minutes per episode. And that's with like the 3-day viewing framework there, okay? So they're in the shitter. Like you just showed us on your last episode in your FU, and guess who's going to have the last laugh? The rest of us who don't have to put up with your bullshit anymore. Okay, again, we're Norma Desmond territory, Baby Jane, Michael Patrick King. It's very successful. People can't stop talking about it. It is not for the reason you would love to delude yourself into thinking, okay? But, you know, people, so they decided, he says, to call it quits on their own out of a sense of real artistic integrity. And he goes on to give himself laurels for this lie. We all know it's a lie. What are you doing? You're just insulting your audience even further. People don't make decisions like that often now, he says. But luckily, we're at a place where they kind of let artists, you're not an artist. You're a hack. You're a misogynistic, aging out hack, okay? Make decisions still, whatever. Okay, finally, just a note, again, all worlds connect here at The Nerve. Sarah Jessica Parker. Who are her two best friends? Michael Patrick King and Andrew Cohen. Two aging, misogynistic gay men, okay? Who are sadists, in my opinion. They enjoy causing pain and humiliation. Ask Kristen Davis, who had to do a face-first pratfall into a condom that was filled with ejaculate, or for the show, or Cynthia Nixon, who had to kneel down in a bunch of floating shit in the final episode. But Sarah gets to skip off in her $800 Manolo, whatever. Okay. Now, to commemorate the ending, we have done our own version of Berger's infamous Post-it note, which he wisely left on Carrie's computer. And it read, "I'm sorry, I can't, don't hate me." Please take a look at The Nerve's Post-it note, which reads, "We're sorry, we can't, don't hate us." Or do hate us, okay? Because we don't give a fuck. Just like Sarah Jessica Parker doesn't give a fuck if you like it. All you people who made her so wealthy that she's building a mansion, or she built a mansion in Kilcar where her husband killed 2 women. Fuck you. Okay. And finally, we had a little bit of fun with Sarah Jessica Parker's Instagram ode to herself as Carrie. And yours truly snuck her way in there. Let's take a look.
She crossed streets, avenues, Rubicons, so it seemed. She broke hearts, heels, habits.
Bill Mars.
She loved, lost, won, tripped, leaped, fell short, and into puddles.
That was our producer Marlena's idea. And when she sent it to me this morning, I was like, I'm on the floor. I'm dying. Again, if you're listening, please take a look at that end of the show. The whole thing is really worth your eyeballs because so much of the humor is in what you see. But anyway, that's it for our Tuesday edition of The Nerve. And I think that's it for this hat, which may go in the Nerve archives. Like, we're going to have to get a climate-controlled warehouse, start putting the artwork in and the wardrobe. We will have more great stuff for you on Friday. We can't wait to see you back here at The Nerve, where you will never guess what we're about to say next.